carry to say that they are God and they might kill their wives. And those same players have had owners, general managers, people in the media, all stand up for them. Colin took a knee because so many black and brown bodies have seen violence put against them with no repercussions. And because of that, despite his obvious ability to play in the field, he's being blocked from joining a team. So I'm proud to stand with these officers and stand with Colin. So now, guys, I would like to introduce you, Sergeant Edwin Raymond, one of the organizers of this event. All right, first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for understanding how important this situation is. What Colin Kaepernick did is try to bring awareness to an issue that this nation unfortunately has ignored for far too long, and that's the issue of racism in America and policing in America. We decided to gather here today because the way he's being railroaded for speaking the obvious truth, this is not what America was founded on. Some may argue that what he's doing is more American because this country was actually founded on challenging injustice. As members of law enforcement, we can confirm that the issues that he is saying exist in policing and throughout the criminal justice system indeed exist. And this is why we are here to support him. As a nation, we have this habit of vindicating people in hindsight. You know, this is Ali was vindicated in hindsight. Rosa Parks was vindicated in hindsight. Well, with Colin Kaepernick, we have an opportunity to respect the work as it's happening in the present. We shouldn't have to wait 20 years to understand the importance of what this man is trying to do. Sorry, there's emotion. We shouldn't even have to be here doing this.
Right.
You know, when you see what's transpiring right now in Charlottesville and throughout the nation, that's just that's the bigger version of what Colin Kaepernick is trying to fight against. You know, when you take that type of bigotry and the residue of bigotry, which is bias, and you couple it with policing, every so often, everything aligns itself and someone pays with their lives. You know, so we're here today to support Colin Kaepernick and to let people know that if you want to say he's anti-cop, what do you have to say about all these cops standing here in support of his message? Thank you.
Afternoon, everybody. First, I want to just give a round of applause to Sergeant Edward Raymond and the NYPD 12 and all the officers here. A few years ago, Sergeant Raymond came to my office to talk about some of the things he was witnessing, and I tried my best to provide support, but I can't even take the credit for the heights that he soared since then, and the pride and the courage that I know, because he stuck to what he wanted to do, make sure we got him that promotion as a sergeant, that there are so many other officers now who are feeling that they too can come out and talk about how they feel and the type of law enforcement agency they want to work for. So I just want to give him again. As was mentioned, my name is Jamani Williams. I'm the council member for the 45th District, the nation of Brooklyn. I too am sad that we have to be here. First, I want to make sure that we're clear that what happened in Charlottesville, no one should be shocked about. It shouldn't be a surprise. That type of stuff is in the DNA of this country. And it has happened time and time again. And most people who will be feeling the brunt of oppression have been feeling it even before Charlottesville and before Trump. So we have to make sure that's clear. What has changed now, we haven't had a sitting president just take away the coded language that conservatives have been using in a way that Trump has for a very, very long time and help incite this. The most hate mail I've ever gotten was when I sat for the Pledge of Allegiance in the City Council chambers. I sat quietly, did not disrupt anything, did not disrupt the proceedings. I say that because people have a tendency to pretend that this is somehow about patriotism. This is about, and what Kaepernick is doing, is simply about pushing back on a structure of oppression and supremacy. That's all it's about, and I want folks to understand the connections between the venom that's being tossed Kaepernick's way and the Nazis and white supremacists that we saw in Charlottesville. They are deeply connected. And in order for that supremacy, that bigotry to be sustained, oftentimes people push patriotism as the line to try to cover these things. And so we shouldn't be surprised that the people who most push hard on you have to be ultra patriotic to the point of fascism, to the point of Nazism, are the same people who had the tiki torches in Charlottesville. There's a reason that the young man, I forgot his name, who was in that Vice interview leading the charge, ran for Congress as a Republican conservative, not as a liberal. Because we've been saying for such a long time that conservatism and the policies they support are tantamount to bigotry, to racism, to the ultra-patriotic fascism and Nazism. We've been saying that for a long time. And the war is being taken over, and you still have people not admitting it. As was mentioned, there are rapists in the NFL. There are people who have murdered in the NFL. There are people who have abused animals who got contracts in the NFL. Then you have Colin Kaepernick, who's done none of that. All he did was kneel during the national anthem. Probably in an act that is the most patriotic that many of us has seen in a very, very long time. Patriotism has been pushing back on the supremacy, oppression, and structure that this country has been built on. We are not going to allow people to misuse the word patriot. And I just want to be very clear, because many people will say, you are against law enforcement, you are against the country. All of these people here are from law enforcement. So what say you now? We have to tear down and be honest about this discussion. All of the people behind me risk their lives, so to speak, to protect folks. And they are standing with Kaepernick because they understand how important it is to push back on the structure. We are at a time in history where, as the President of the United States put out, you were either on the many sides, you're either with the white supremacists and the Nazis, or you're with those who are pushing back. We have to make sure that Colin Kaepernick stays uplifted. History is repeating itself. Muhammad Ali was mentioned. He's mentioned now as one of the greatest athletes of all time. When I bring his name up, people look at me like I'm crazy because they forget how he was ostracized at that time. They forget that they took his title from him. They forget that they didn't allow him to fight. They forget what they called him at that time. And now he's one of the greatest athletes of all time. Well, we want Kaepernick to smell his roses now. Yes. We want to make sure he gets his roses now. We are not going to wait for 20 years and 30 years. We want him to know we understand what he's doing right now, and we stand with him, and we understand the courage that it is taking right now, and how hard it is to push back on a structure. But here we are, we're going to push. We are part of the America that has always pushed back on these kind of ills. We have tried to help America hold up to its ideals, even when she doesn't. So I'm with Cap, and I'm with these officers. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have retired detective and member of the Amadou Diallo Foundation, Graham Weatherspoon.
Good morning. What we have in this country is the failure to study history.
Right.
Yes.
It's not taught. It's not studied. Right there, on the other side of the river, you see that dark glass building with the vertical lines on it? That's Wall Street. That's where slaves were sold, on the block in New York City. The first slaves to come to this country were brought here to New York in 1626. They were brought here before the Irish. They were brought here before the Germans. They were brought here before the Italians. They were brought here before the French. They were brought here before many of the people who think this is their country ever heard of this country. Professional football is modeled after American slavery.
That's right.
You've got to think and analyze what's going on. Where do these players start out? They start out on a farm team. What was a plantation other than a farm? Who worked on the field in that farm? Who worked there? People that look like us. Colin Kaepernick has chosen to leave the plantation. He will no longer be a slave to the NFL. He was called for such a time as this. God did not call him to be a football player. He called him to be a man of enlightenment for the people of the country, and also for other professional football players to see. Just because you're getting a check, it doesn't mean that you're free.
That's right.
Athletes are bought and sold. They have a big event every year. They call it the draft. That's the block.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
That's the block.
That's right.
They're not free. They're scared. Massa said they can't speak. Massa said they have to stand up. Massa said they got to go here. And when they trade you, they tell you, pack up and go there. They don't care about your wife, your family. You go there. It's a slave system. This country is founded and rooted in slavery.
That's right.
And when you take the time to step back and think, you will see how much slavery is going on. Mental, psychological, educational, financial, every aspect of your being is controlled by it. There's been a lot of talk about Nazis in the last week. But we have to give credit. Adolf Hitler gave credit to where he got his thinking from. He wrote and said he got his ideas from the United States of America. He got it from the United States Congress in 1924. You wonder why you have quote-unquote neo-Nazis. Because the chief Nazi developed his program by watching the people in this country. It was the immigration laws that were invoked in 1924 against people. Separatism, racism. That's what he modeled his agenda after. So when we think about Nazism, let's think about the United States and how we have affected and infected lives of people across the globe. I served as a police officer, as a detective. I've sent police officers to prison because they were not qualified. They were criminals. What the man, the fool on the hill down in Washington did, in that tirade he ran out there in Long Island with the Suffolk County Police Department, and you saw how they applauded him.
Right.
Their own chief is sitting in federal prison right now for brutalizing a prisoner.
Right, that's right.
The clergy had better wake up. These photo ops and all this nonsense. Wake up.
That's right.
Your calling is to God, not to America, not to a flag, not to anybody but God. That is your calling. And it is time that people in this country stood up for what is right.
Yeah.
The philosopher Burke said, all that is necessary for evil to triumph is that good men do nothing.
Right.
Good men and women do nothing.
Right.
You can't be good and be doing nothing. Because if you're not standing against evil, you are for it. The man that you're going to hear from later, Frank Serpico, is a man that inspired me to enter into law enforcement. A white man whom I've respected for over 45 years. And I will always respect him because he stood against the ilk and the criminality that goes on in this country. Colin Kaepernick, you don't need to look back to football. You were given the platform of football to elevate you to the level where people would know who you are. Now that they know who you are, you're moving to another level because you're speaking out for what is truthful and what is just and what is beneficial for people at large. Thank you.
We will now hear from retired NYPD Detective Frank Serpico.
Get chased by a whole bunch of other adults all over the damn field, and everybody's applauding like crazy. But that's a good distraction. You know, I am here to support my brothers and sisters, and anyone who stands up, has the courage to stand up against injustice and oppression anywhere in this country and the world. I hear from fellow police officers all over the world. They all have the same complaint. When they want to do the right thing, they get punished. There's nowhere they can go. All right, we're in America now. Focus on America. I'm 81 years old. I got everything I've ever needed in life. One thing I wanted and never got was justice. Wow. The only way The only way anyone is going to get justice if we have a working system of justice where the judges and the district attorneys are not all feeding from the same trough as they are in Albany and in my county, Columbia County, where I got paperwork to show the corruption. The FBI hung up on me, the senator doesn't answer back. They're all eating out of the same trough. They're not going to punish their own.
That's right.
They're only looking for their own butts.
Right.
And that's the problem, even with the police force, the good officers, and I always said, there's no such thing as a crooked cop. You're either a good cop or you're a crook. Period.
Yeah.
Just using that unit.
Right.
Now, it comes to my attention that 72% of police officers are in agreement with the victims of police brutality. Their problem is that those that are committing the brutality are not brought to justice.
Right.
Now, they're not brought to justice because the people that they are serving don't bring them to justice. When you want to make money, big money, you need criminality. They're not satisfied with the average person like most of us here are, who have to sweat and toil just to pay the rent and put food on the table. They want the big bucks. Like they said, across the road there in Wall Street, we all know what happened with the banking system and all. A big fan of mine growing up was Thomas Paine. He was a pamphleteer, and he came here and he organized the colonies against the British. And he said, I am a member of the universe, and my religion is doing good. And that's what I believe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
He really dropped the mic, huh? So next up, we have Damon Jones, the New York representative for Black Law Enforcement of America.
All right, Damon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Damon K. Jones. I'm the New York representative of Blacks in Law Enforcement of America.
and I stand here with other black officers and officers of color in support of Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick took a knee because America wasn't standing up. Colin Kaepernick recognized the racism, the sexism, the cronyism that's in law enforcement. See, black people in America, we really don't know what true justice is when our families are killed and brutalized by law enforcement. And as black law enforcement, we're 4 degrees of separation from the victims. Either we know the victim, we know somebody that knows the victim. The victim is a family member, and in many times in the state of New York, black law enforcement is the victim.
Right.
See, we have to understand, since 1940, 27 black cops have been shot at, or killed by their white counterpart, and it has never happened in the reverse. Never. Never has happened in the reverse. Governor Patterson issued a police-on-police shooting task force. And what was the finding from the task force? That racial bias, conscious or unconscious, plays a role in a police officer to shoot a victim. So we wonder why these issues are continuing, because nobody is addressing it. Now, Colin Kaepernick brought this issue to the world. Everybody's talking about it. When Colin Kaepernick posts the history of law enforcement in relation to black people, yes, it started from the slave trades. It started from enforcing the black codes and the slave codes. And as our brother councilman said, the DNA of racism is embedded in what we see in law enforcement. Stop, question, and frisk started from the patrollers questioning the slaves when they traveled from plantation to plantation. But with them, they ended up being hung. In 2017, they get arrested, and we have mass incarceration. So we stand here as black law enforcement and good law enforcement in support of Colin Kaepernick. And we are outraged as the NFL had the audacity to bring Michael Vick to try to defend someone who's been to jail. He's going to defend the integrity of law enforcement and the NFL. He's not qualified. He's not qualified to talk to us about it when he's a criminal. So we're going to say again, we support Colin Kaepernick, and I will not be watching any NFL, and I will not be buying products from any of the sponsorship this year or next year or ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, one more speaker, y'all. I know it's hot. One more speaker and we're done. So now I'd like to bring up retired NYPD Deputy Inspector Corey McGee.
What's the top?
All right, brother.
Thank you. Let's all give Edward another hand for
All right, Edward.
So my name is Corey McGee. I'm a retired Deputy Inspector from the NYPD. I actually was commanding officer of the 67th Precinct here in East Flatbush. And I'm also the author of Once a Cop, The Street, the Law, Two Worlds, One Man, a book that just came out a year ago. So as I look through my phone, it says March 3rd, 1931, Congress passed a resolution for us to sing the national anthem, made it officially the song of the United States. And as I scrolled down a little more, I noticed that black people couldn't vote in 1931. So let's just be very, very clear on this United States Constitution and its national anthem. When the Constitution was made, it didn't include us. So we don't, I'm not talking about law enforcement, I'm talking about black people. We don't care about no national anthem. We don't care nothing about no Constitution because it did not include us. We wasn't included. And as far as unarmed black men being killed, I mean, we could list for days. Tamir Rice, Brown, Graham. I can't name 3 white unarmed people that was killed. Not 3. Not 3. I could list about 10 or 15 black. Omar Edwards worked for me. God bless the dead. He was a cop for me when I was commanding officer PSA 9. Young black officer who was just walking to his car and saw somebody trying to break into his car in Harlem. And he started chasing him, which any citizen would do. Fortunately, he was a cop and he had a gun, so he's chasing with his gun. And 3 on-duty anti-crime cops end up murdering him. And again, you know, the story is, you know, NYPD, all the cops in law enforcement, they get the benefit of the doubt. Rightfully so. We was cops. I definitely want cops to get the benefit of the doubt because you give us that opportunity to take somebody's life. But it has to be when imminent deadly physical force is being used against you or someone else. Imminently. That means barrel the gun. I mean, if you can't handle this, then you gotta go to McDonald's. This is a heavy responsibility because when that bullet go down range, there ain't no coming back. It's no coming back. But I was a commander. I was an executive. When I made captain, I was one of 13 black executives in a 40,000-man police department. So I know the inner workings on how this stuff go. They get in the back room and they come up with stories and analogies. Well, guess what? This thing right here has changed the game.
Right.
Yes. This thing right here has changed the game. So no longer can police control the narrative. I mean, you got this idiot called Pat Lynch that actually went on national TV and tried to explain the chokehold of Eric Garner and said it was a jiu-jitsu move. You can't bamboozle me. If you put your arm around my neck and squeeze, you're choking me.
That's right. That's right.
So there's still, you gotta understand, like these white cops, these white executives, I mean, we here in the mosaic, New York City, the police department is more minority than anything. But look, let's just look at the power positions. Police commissioner, white. Chief of detective, white. I said power. I ain't say first deputy commissioner who's black. I said power. Chief of detectives, white. Counter-terrorist just got locked up for being drunk on the plane yesterday. White. Okay, so I know where the power is. So don't tell me that it's more minority than anything else, but we're not in power positions. And so these cops are running out here. You got a lot of road cops. We got a whole bunch of good cops. We know that. I know some black cops, you don't even want them to come in your house. So we're not saying that every single black cop is good and all white cops are bad.
That's right.
We're just saying, I don't care if you send a green cop to my house. All I want them to do is treat us with respect. And that's what we're asking for. And as far as Colin Kaepernick, I mean, he sat down. Lawrence Taylor was a crackhead. They kept giving him passes. Ray Lewis killed somebody. He was exonerated, but he shot and killed somebody. Mike Vick with the dog. Elliot, we just got Elliot now. He beat the hell out of his girlfriend for an entire week. So, like, where we going with this? This guy, he sat on his knee. All he did was take a knee. And I want to give a big shout out to Howie Long's son, Long, who's actually supporting Chris Long, who's supporting Colin Kaepernick. And he's a white player. And that's what we need. And that's the same that we need in law enforcement. We need the white cops to stand up, you know, to support the black cops. And we need organizations like this fool organization called Noble, who had Jeff Sessions come and be the speaker at their national convention. Like, we can't keep sitting down trying to bring them to the table. They don't want us at the table. We got a major league racist called 45. That's the president of the United States right now. It's all right. I mean, I respect him. He won. We got to deal with that. That's just what it is. But we don't got to bring him to the table. Jeff Sessions, I mean, when Coretta Scott King wrote a letter against you, she played her position as a lovely wife for all her life. She wrote one letter. And it was about just Jeff Sessions, how racist he is in Alabama. And they appoint him in Noble, National Organization, Black Law Enforcement Executive, bring him to be their guest speaker. Are you kidding me? But we know that there's a whole bunch of Negroes in law enforcement. Just because they're black don't mean that they got the same values as every black person. Like I said, I can point out a lot of black cops that you don't want to come to your house. And I'm here today. I see we got Associated Press, we got some national. I'm here to call them out. My name is Corey Pagisa, y'all know it. And one last thing before I go, I want everybody in the back to put their fist in the air.
Preach it.
I want everybody to put their fist in the air.
Yes.
Because we stand with Cap, and it's the only song we gonna sing. Lift every voice and sing to earth and heaven. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as a rolling sea. Yes. A song of faith that the past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun, a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Yes, we support Cap. No NFL on my TV.
Thank you everybody for coming. This will be the end of our press conference. If there are any questions for the officers, we can take them now.
Everybody take a knee.
Oh man, I might not be able to get
Might not get up. We support Cap. We support Cap.
We support Cap. We support Cap. We support Cap. We support Cap. We support Cap. We support Cap. We support Cap. We support Cap. We support Cap. We support Cap.
Any questions?